Hey, Pastor. I was thinking about you today. This is how I spent my lunch. I rode my bike up a mountain that my house sits on. It was a pretty good way to spend my little lunch break. I'm about to fly down, but before I do that, I wanted to take a second to introduce you to this beautiful valley that I live in. Over there is Mount Werner and the ski mountain, and there's my ride. Anyway, I was meeting with a pastor recently who pastors a megachurch in the South, and he was going through a little bit of a hard time, and he heard my story kind of about what happened to me. I was pastoring a very large church in the South, and after about 4.5 years, I was kind of pushed out by the elders, rejected, and the church is now a site for a megachurch in Houston, and it was going to die either way. Either it was going to die of old age, or it was going to die of financial failure. And unfortunately, it died of financial failure. And so it brought me out here to Steamboat Springs, Colorado. And as I was meeting with this megachurch pastor, he said something at first was hurtful, and now I understand. He said, "I'm encouraged by your story because now I know that the worst that could happen to me is what happened to you." And at first I was like, "Oh, well, thanks, I think." And then as I thought about it more, I realized that's true, and it's not that bad. I mean, I didn't have a moral failure. I didn't commit adultery. I didn't mess up with my finances personally or corporately. And so, I was able to kind of land on my feet. And I ended up in a very beautiful place, pastoring a church that loves me. And it's a good life. And it's a smaller church. And in some ways that has its challenges, but in other ways it's a very refreshing place to be, and allows for me to get away and do things like this for lunch once a week or so, and that's a good thing. And so why do I tell you that? Well, I tell you that to say, don't be afraid. This is the worst that could happen. And maybe the mountains aren't for you. Maybe it's the beach. Maybe it's small town USA. Maybe it's a farm. Maybe it's owning a Chick-fil-A. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? And I just saw the other day an article about a church that died. It died of old age, and it never changed. It was never led. And sometimes you just gotta lead. And so don't be afraid of that. Lead your church. Don't be foolish. Have a plan. I had a plan. It didn't work, but I had a plan. It was a 5-year plan, a 3-year plan, a 1-year plan, a 10-year plan. There was a plan in place. Have a plan. Take small steps, but don't be afraid to lead, because this is the worst that could happen, right? Lead your life well. Love God. Love your family. But don't be afraid to lead your church. The church needs leadership right now, and you're the guy that Jesus has appointed to lead his church right where you are.